Ever yearned to follow your dreams but have been too afraid to take the chance? Well, this next story may inspire you to do it. As Beth Tully proves, it's sweeter to do something you really love than to do something you don't like just to pay the bills.
Because I couldn't be dishonest to myself anymore.
Beth Tully is living proof that it's never too late to change direction in your life.
And so I turned 50. I had this big epiphany about the fact that I needed to really be doing something that I felt some passion about.
And what she felt passionate about was this. Something she had been doing as a hobby.
Because I had a history of making chocolate recreationally, was the only other thing I could think of that I knew I could do, first of all, and secondly, that I absolutely adored doing.
Even if we're miserable in our jobs, most of us stay in them because they pay so well, or we're too afraid to take a chance on the unknown, or we don't know how to do anything else. So what made Beth different?
Good question. I think that for me, it was my 50th birthday. Was it amazing to have all my friends there? But what they said, I mean, we went around the table and they were doing these toasts and they were talking about this person that was this amazing friend and this talented, creative, individual, and I'm thinking, that's not me. And it was a gut check, because I had a real awakening about the fact that I really wasn't living what I would call an honest life. I was passing through, I guess, punching the clock and just moving through.
What really got her was the fact that
they're all believing something I didn't believe in myself.
All those years of doing things that didn't fit her made her doubt that she really fit anywhere. But after that night, she decided she had to take that chance.
It came to be out of my dissatisfaction with all the other things that I'd chosen to do in my life, and I just wasn't following any passion or anything that my heart was telling me to do, and I left, one job after another.
Beth was formally trained as a speech therapist, but after a while drifted into sales.
Just never really felt comfortable in what I was doing. I just never was satisfied. I, always felt like I needed to feign being sick on Sunday nights so they didn't have to go to work. And
after that birthday party,
I told my husband, I've got to make a change.
And did she ever? At that point, Beth was leaving a very high-paying job that had a lot of benefits.
To jump off into something with no benefits and no guarantee of income for God knows how long.
It definitely had a lot of other benefits, but that doesn't mean she didn't realize she was taking a risk. It's a risk she and her husband talked through thoroughly.
And I said to him, I promise you that if it doesn't all make sense, if it doesn't look like it's a financially viable business, we'll pull the plug. And he said, I trust you. And I said, okay. And he said, and what's the worst that can happen? We borrow some money, the business fails, you pay it back, and you get a job. And so that gave me a huge amount of confidence.
It's a good thing Jay had faith in her. If he hadn't, we wouldn't have had the chance to experience chocolates like this. Beth didn't just jump in and open Coco Dolce without doing her homework, though. Although it was a risk, it was a calculated risk, one that Beth had given a lot of thought to. Beth is one of only 2 master chocolatiers in the state. She got her certification after graduating from a chocolate arts program in Canada.
Call them temporary tattoos, but they'll adhere to the chocolate. I'll show you that in a second. They'll adhere to the top of the chocolate, and then when a chocolate's set up, you can peel it off.
Beth's dream was to bring these European-style handmade chocolates to Wichita. Early on, Beth decided to make the best chocolate it was possible to make, and no expense is spared.
So we use really high-quality imported Belgium chocolate, and I like Belgium chocolate. It's a personal aesthetic. Chefs will try different kinds of chocolate. I'm a Belgium girl. And then it's every ingredient after that. We use a extremely high fat content butter. What that does is it helps keep a real velvety texture to the chocolates. I looked for about 6 months for a honey that I wanted to use in a honey truffle that it's a wild Zambian tree honey. Our cream is, fresh and heavy, and I think the sum of all those parts create something that's really wonderful to begin with.
And thousands of customers across the nation agree.
You do a lot of
giving back to charities and doing. Why do you do that?
For a couple reasons. I think that I'm really fortunate to be living my dream now, and I'm deeply appreciative to the community, because had the community not supported us, we'd not be enjoying the more regional and hopefully national kind of recognition that we're getting.
And she says giving back elevates all of us.
I mean, if we don't support those groups and don't do that with generosity and kindness, then, we don't flourish as a community.
It's not just charities who benefit from her generosity, though. So do her employees.
I truly am about nurturing these, I had horrible boss experiences. Horrible. And so I am so much about creating a interesting, stimulating, safe, and fun environment for these young, and it just happens to be women right now, young girls, to thrive in. That's another part of sort of my goal with this business.
Many of these women have been with Beth since she opened her doors 2.5 years ago. Do you have any role models?
I have rock star chocolatiers that I really, I watch what they do on their websites, and when I meet them, I get all gushy, and sometimes I've cried a couple times when I've met them. I'm like, you're so great, and I start to cry, so it's ridiculous. But it's so embarrassing. It's so embarrassing.
I love that.
Oh my God, great. It's just so.
One chef in Chicago really got the full scope of her admiration.
I'm sure he probably got a restraining order against me after I left, because I was like, you are a rock star. No, I'm not kidding. You are a rock star. And I think I grabbed his jacket, maybe. I don't want to say for sure. But my friends in Chicago were still talking about it several months later, so I'm pretty sure that I'm going to have to wear a disguise the next time I'm going to dinner there.
Seeing her now, relaxed, happy, and laughing, it's hard to believe she was an extremely serious student in her younger days.
I was an overachiever in school.
Were you?
My friends in college, in fact, called me Goody Two-Shoes, because I was not a very playful person when I was a kid or high school and college, and I was embarrassed by that when they'd say, "Oh, what you study all the time." I just was a serious kid growing up, and I think that's the other thing I'm appreciating about this phase in my life is I'm really not very serious, and that's a real refreshing sort of view of the world.
Maybe she doesn't take herself as seriously, but she's definitely serious about turning out a quality product.
We don't use any preservatives, so it doesn't have an infinite shelf life like a Godiva chocolate or a lot of the chocolates you see, which they've added things to extend life. And we don't do that. We do use butter and some natural preservatives, sugar, things like that will help. But
a lot of people have misconceptions, though, because you've been very successful with this. A lot of people have misconceptions when people are successful that it was really easy. Was your road paved?
It was paved with gravel. It's not for the weak of heart. I call myself a plate spinner. I remember, the circus acts where they spin all the plates. That's a lot what owning your own small business is about, because it's not just about making chocolate for me. That's what I thought I would do, that I could spend my days, I could make chocolate, and it'd be really fun, Little tiny chocolate shop. Well, the reality is I make chocolate. I manage, 14 people. We handle all the, it's the amount of plates were beyond my wildest expectations. And so it's taken a bit of a balancing act to be able to do all of the things that you need to do to keep the business running. So was the road paved? We paved it as we went, I think is the best way I can describe that. This is the most satisfying, amazing, happy time in my life. But I'm also working harder than I ever thought I would work. It just takes everything to be successful. And I really think that's the key. It's not that you got a great widget that you're selling. It's how hard you're willing to work to sell the widget. So it wouldn't change a thing, but wow, glad I didn't know how hard it was.
Beth says they make 2,000 pieces of chocolate every day, and they've been shipped as far away as Australia, Africa, Asia, and all over Europe.